Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to a spectacular game of the day 3 of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour finals in 2022. We have here Wesley So versus Arjun Erigaisi in really a special game. It's at least special for me because nothing makes me happier when I see a beautiful theoretical novelty in chess. And here the cool part is that we'll see a beautiful theoretical novelty in move 6 in the Slav defense. So you see many of these openings are still explored in such a deep way, but not everything is explored, not everything is solved. I think in chess that's the beauty about this game, I think, because here in move 6 we'll see a beautiful novelty in the so-called quiet variation of the Slav defense, in the so-called Schallopp defense. It's really wild. Be prepared. I think this novelty is good. There are many novelties, new sidelines, new opportunities, but these are not good opportunities. These are just lines that give maybe an opponent a huge advantage, but it's a sharp line and your opponent could make mistakes. You're hoping actually that he's making mistakes, but this line that I think Arjun Erigaisi will pull off here is perfectly fine. So I think Arjun is working hard on his openings. He's trying to make maybe new ideas in chess, which is really great. A young fellow like him, he's introducing us really new ideas in chess, which is really amazing. So let's check out now the game. So as I said, really a game worth to study. Wesley So versus Arjun Erigaisi in this Schallopp defense. So here Wesley pulled off d4. We have d5 by Arjun Erigaisi, c4. We have the queen's gambit. After move c6, the Slav defense. So knight to f3, knight to f6, and now you have two good choices. You can go into the quiet variation with the move e3, or you can go into the three knight system with the move knight to c3. Here Wesley played this solid line e3, waits now black to take, d takes c4, bishop to c4 comes of course with a beautiful tempo. The downside a little bit about this line is that the bishop comes out actively now, and you see now black is preparing solid play, is playing e6, bishop to e7 or bishop to d6, knight to d7, queen to b6, and everything is perfectly fine now, I think, in black's position. So pretty equal chances for both sides. Now Wesley goes with knight to h4. We're now in the move 5, so nothing dramatically changed so far in the game. So we have now bishop to b1. So this move has been played so far in chess history, and now after rook to b1, now Arjun Erigaisi pulls off a monstrous move e5. And I'm not seeing games in the database, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe there are some games that have been played earlier. I'm not seeing any games in the lead chess database in this particular line. e5, really a brilliant, stunning move which opens the position immediately. For instance, the engine suggests moves like e6 because, okay, you gave up your light square bishop, now you have to keep a solid game on light squares, and the idea is of course to play something like even queen to a5, attacking the king, maybe also taking out the pawn on a2. The bishop becomes now a very good piece with bishop to d6. Now knight to d7 is going to happen, so still a solid game here for black, but e5 is really brilliant. Maybe it's even a much better move. In my opinion, this is the way to go actually in this particular line. This could be really a surprise weapon for you. e5 is a brilliant move here by Arjun Erigaisi. And I don't want to analyze now every good move for white here. Queen to b3 is an opportunity, knight to f3, bishop to e2, normal development. Every of these moves are good, but actually the best line for white here is to go into the sharp tactical battle with the move d takes e5, and that's exactly what Wesley So played here. That's the beauty about this game. Both of them, I think, maybe somewhere have this line prepared, but now already a critical moment of the game, and I'm really sure that Arjun Erigaisi somewhere has this prepared at home, but I think he missed the move order here. That's the quite stunning also fact about this game. The main move that you have to play now is the move knight to e4, which unfortunately for Arjun he didn't play. Knight to e4 would be brilliant. Look at this, the knight is hanging, you have to make a reaction, but you have to retreat with your knight to an f3, because notice with bishop to b4, the knight is hitting on d2, the bishop would hit on d2, and the knight is attacked. You don't have time to protect the knight with g3 or something. Queen to a5, bishop to b4 is going to happen, so you are getting destroyed by this beautiful activity of black's. Queen to a5, even if you cover knight to d2, queen to d2, bishop to b4 traps even the queen, so you have to be careful. So that's why here knight to after knight to e4 you have to play knight to f3. This wasn't played in the game because, as we said, Arjun didn't play the move knight to e4. He played bishop to b4 instead. But I wanted to show you, I studied now this line a little bit at home because it was really surprising for me to watch this line. After knight to f3, look at this, bishop to b4, comes now. You have to cover now. Now we play knight to d2, knight to d2, and now the d4 move is very important here to break and enter here in this position. Notice that white's king is still stuck in the center. You still need at least one tempo, two tempi in order to secure the king by castling. You are challenged already in the center of the board. Now you could play some ideas of queen to e2 because you have to also stop a potential progress of the d3 pawn. This could be also very annoying, maybe to handle this annoying pawn on d3. Then c5, knight and c6 is coming, knight to e5. I wouldn't left them to play the game here from white's perspective, so white needs to be careful here really also in the position. As I said, this wasn't played in the game, but let's see now, again, new opportunities here for white and for black. Queen to e2, you have to now compete for the d3 square. Now queen to b6, challenging further here the pawn on e3, and now after a3, actually what black should do here is simply to take it out, because white cannot take out the pawn with the queen, because after queen to d2 we are taking now d takes e3, and after queen to e3, f takes e3. Okay, white has an extra pawn, but this is not the healthy pawn structure. This is not a solid play, and actually in this particular scenario, if for instance you reach this position from black's perspective, actually black is better, because you will castle, you will attack this pawn. It's really hard for white, pardon me, to defend both of these pawns. The knight will come into the game. Maybe you can fix it on c5. I think you will find some squares for the knight, maybe a little bit hard, but the knight is a flexible piece. You find for sure a good square in the position. So, but notice actually in this particular scenario, the two pawns are the main issues now in white's camp. So now maybe in this particular scenario, you don't want to take with the queen. You can of course take out with the king, but now after something like knight to d7, we're continuing the pressure. Still, I think a decent game. Maybe we can queenside castle, and the king is stuck in the center, so this is the way to go. So let's go back. A really important study here. Knight to e4 would have been the correct move here by Arjun Erigaisi. This was the way to go, but unfortunately he played now bishop to b4, and this was too rushed, because now Wesley So played a brilliant move, and many of us, I think, would play some mistakes. I don't know, bishop to d2 or something. Now Wesley plays a beautiful king to e2, and this is such a beautiful defensive move. You're standing in front of your own bishop here, but this is the way to go. You're standing in front of the bishop, but now I think Arjun missed his main motif. He missed his main motif, knight to e4, attacking the knight on h4. Now Wesley got out of this attack, knight to e4. He simply fixed the knight with the move g3, kingside castling, bishop to g2, and now a3, b4, rook to e1, king to f1 is sort of an idea to get out of this tactical mess. You have this bishop pair, and I think it's a perfect game here for white. You cannot even take out the pawn on c4 because the d pawn is a little bit overloaded to the protection of the c4 pawn, but also of the e4 knight. So this is not working. So from this point on, the game is simply a one-way ticket. But I'm really sure that Arjun Erigaisi has somewhere the study at home, and he missed simply the move order. I think he would not have played the move e5 if he would not have this knight to e4 move somewhere prepared at home. So really bad that the game almost ended like this, because you see now how Wesley is a brilliant player, how he's defending this position, how he's defending but then attacking the position. Wesley So is always at least a top 10 player, always now in the last 10 years. So incredible how he's now playing the game. But as I said, it would be very interesting to see how Wesley would have handled this knight to e4 move earlier by Arjun Erigaisi. So we have queen to c8, f3, simply kicking away the knight to g5. We have queen to c2, very nice move, controlling the f5 square, d takes c4 now, queen to c4, hitting the bishop, knight to a6 here. Arjun is trying to somehow develop the minor pieces, but now a3, b4, look at this. The bishop is coming into the game on b2, will finally connect the rooks. Notice there is this 5 versus 3 pawn majority here on the king side, and with the support of the bishop here, with this powerful knight on f5, with the bishop's activity on this long diagonal, with the rook connection, finally I'm not seeing good ways how black should defend this position, although the white king is a little bit stuck in the center, but it doesn't matter anymore. White has really a monstrous activity here. So bishop to b6, e4, knight to e6, knight to f5, look at this. The pieces are just getting better and better. When the knight comes on d6, this would be done, the so-called octopus knight secured on the d6 square. Really beautiful position play now by Wesley. So queen to c7, bishop to b2, finally again knight to d6. If something gets cleared also, this long diagonal would be open then for the dark square bishop. So rook from a to d8, rook to d1. You're competing, of course, on the d file. You don't want to leave your opponent any chances now in the game. We have c5, but now a beautiful move b5, which is locking simply now the queen side. Nothing spectacular can happen, and now the knight has to lose another tempo. So now the knight is kicked away again. Arjun lost some important time. So we have now f4. It's really easy now for white to play the game. Knight to d6, f5, f6. You can just pick a move, and I think it's perfectly fine here for white. So bishop to a5, we have rook to d6, knight to d7, and now beautiful stunning tactic of rook to e6 here by Wesley. F takes e6, queen to e6, and after king to h8, now queen to e7, threatening even a checkmate immediately with queen to g7. So how to protect this one? You don't want to play, of course, rook to g8 or something, because e6 is going to happen. There's no good defense here around the square g7. You have to actually include some of these pieces on the 7th rank in order to protect yourself. You can do it in two ways. You can play knight to b8 or here knight to e5 that Arjun played. Let's see what happens if you play knight to b8. It gets really spectacular what happens. Then you get queen to c7. Look at this, bishop to c7, and now with e6 the pawn on g7 is hanging, and we're threatening even the move e7 here, the fork against both of these rooks. So it's a position I think that you can resign immediately. So that's why here after queen to e7 Arjun tried knight to e5, but after queen to e5 rook to d2. Okay, it was some kind of a threat, but king to f3 here is perfectly fine. The king is pretty secure here, so nothing special. Queen to e5, bishop to e5. Still the g7 is weak. We have rook to f7, bishop to f1. Now just rerouting here the bishop on c4. There are some threats. If the rook somewhere leaves the protection of the d6 square, we can play knight to d6, knight to f7 is also a decent threat. In the continuation h5, a rook to b3. Here Arjun took the pawn on h2, but now Wesley simplifies the game. Knight to g7. Here if you take, of course, you'd lose too much decisive material, so then these pawns are rolling and you cannot stop them. So here we have king to h7, rook to d3, rook takes d3, bishop to d3. Now Wesley got challenged with his move rook to a2, but now knight to h5. Here Wesley takes another pawn. We have rook takes a3, king to e2, a couple of checks, nothing special here. Wesley played again also a couple of checks, secure the bishop on e2, a rook to c2. Okay, the rook is lonely now in this attack. Nothing special can happen here. Now Wesley simply pushed the pawn further. g4. We have now 3 connected passers that are supported by 3 minor pieces. So this force cannot be stopped just by the rook here. So it's a position, as we said, that you can resign. But Arjun tried to battle here. Nothing wrong with this. Also, he's trying maybe to look for some chances with this passer on the c file. g5. We have king to g7, knight to d5, king to g6, bishop to f6. Now f5, very important move. Now g6, the pawn is rolling. Now after rook to c1, king to g2, king to h7, and knight to a7. In this position, Arjun Erigaisi resigned. There is no good defense anymore against this promotion on g8, and actually it's even a forced checkmate here. So great game, I think it was. I'm a little bit sad that Arjun missed his own opening here. I think this would be maybe even called the Arjun Erigaisi opening. So it would be very cool if he gets his own opening, his name on maybe on theoretical novelty or something. Very impressive it was for me to watch this one, because I didn't see this move e5 so far. I've seen this move in different similar setups, not the same, but with similar motifs when the knight is, of course, on the edge of the board. But here I think this is really important. This is, I think, a study that you can maybe work at home more. There are, of course, other opportunities for white and from black, but this was just a fast recap of what could have actually happened in this particular line. Quite interesting what Arjun Erigaisi pulled off here for sure. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. That's the most important thing that I like to see in chess games: improvements, tactics, and similar stuff. If you want to know more about the Slav defense, you can check out our coverage, our series, our tutorials about the Slav defense from white and from black's perspective. I've created a series, the Queen's Gambit Decline, and we have covered also the Slav defense. Here's the link of our Slav defense series. You can check it out, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos on what to say. Chess is the best, of course.